Time to worry. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast of The Ordinary Maverick. This is Ajay, your host, an ordinary maverick, sharing real life thoughts and experiences and maverick tips. If you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, please do so, and you'll not miss another episode. Lately, there's been a lot going on at my end. Well, I suspect that's the same for everyone out there. It seems there's a crazy catch up after 2.5 year pandemic plus the lockdown period, and everything seems to be happening all at once. As I've shared in the earlier podcast too, we have been relocating once again as a family, and that's never a calm period. I mean, in the span of 1 year, we have moved continents and cities not once or twice, but 3 times. And our girls have been moving too. Now we have moved to Seattle, a very beautiful city with tons to do in the summer months. All in all, a lot of relocations. To top it, our dogs have moved continents and cities as well. So you can imagine what it's been like. I do think that humans relocating is one thing, but to have pets relocate is altogether a different experience. More on that in another podcast. Well, with all these shifts and moves, plus many unknowns, and in a time when there are many unknowns in the world as well, there was a lot to worry about. During these last few years, I've noticed that everyone you meet has a challenging story to tell. Either it's to do with loss or sickness, considering the trying times of the pandemic, or it's to do with jobs, education, difficulties, and pressures that have not been easy on the individual and the family. So here comes the worry part. The dictionary meaning of worry is a state of anxiety and uncertainty over actual or potential problems when used as a noun. And it's also used as a verb when one allows one's mind to dwell on difficulty or troubles. It's also a form of thinking about the future, defined as the thinking of future events in a way that leaves you feeling anxious or apprehensive. And typically, it's always focused on what bad things might happen in the future. What's concerning is that with excessive worrying, the mind and body go into overdrive, and one starts constantly thinking on what might happen, what is going to happen, how is it going to happen, etc. etc. Then that leads to high level of anxiety, even panic and unrealistic fears, and all this only leads to increase in worries. Then it affects everything: your appetite, relationships, sleep, job performance, etc. etc. And it can even lead to harmful lifestyle habits like overeating, smoking, using alcohol, and drugs. Sometimes we use worry and anxiety together. Like we say, I'm worried and anxious. The truth is, two are interrelated but not the same. Some quick differences to bear in mind. Worry is more in the mind, while anxiety shows up both in the mind and the body. Worry is more specific and linked to a particular problem, like you're worried how to complete all the tasks at home or at work, while anxiety can get more generalized. You are unsettled but not very sure why and can't really pinpoint what it is you're anxious about. Worry can be useful in many ways as it's specific and grounded. I mean, there's a particular problem you're trying to solve and you're worried about it, while anxiety can be magnifying the risk. There is some overestimation of the risk that makes you anxious, and that then influences your body and your mind. And the other things to note are that anxiety can get long standing and can affect your psyche, making it difficult to function. Worry can be temporary and linked to the specific problem or concern that you have. Once solved, the worry seems to have gone. Psychologists and experts have long studied both the states of worry and anxiety, and the consensus is that both are not that bad at all. They can, for one, motivate change. But like everything else, too much of anything is not good. Well, worry is like that too. Too much worry can impact every aspect of your life and affect your functioning. I'm like anyone else. I worry. And my family worries too. But over time, we have all picked up tips on how to manage and deal with worry. And the relocations we have done as a family are a perfect example to share some of what we have gone through and tackled. Let's recall the Maverick formula and the first component. That is, rely on your gut instinct. And how does one get better with this? It's practicing mindfulness. Now, the more one roots oneself in the present and practices mindfulness, the more it's shown to have major anxiety quelling effects. Focusing on the present helps one realize what all we already have, and that is a worry quencher like nothing else. Now, another thing that we hear about scheduling time to worry, it's called deliberate worrying. I hadn't quite realized it, but that's what we have been practicing as a family, especially during these relocations. We would just list out each worry that we had, both at the place we were in and then at the place we were going to. Everything, however small it may seem, that was worrying us was listed down. So, things like how will we pack our stuff? How will we get school admissions for our girls? Will the dogs travel fine? What will we do with all our recently bought furniture? Will the new place be safe? Just about everything that's in our minds. We encourage our girls to think about all the issues and list them down too. And then we tackle them one by one together. We find that really helped. As the list was shared, solutions were found between us and some items of worry just dropped off. While for some we charted out a plan of action and immediately felt better. Remember the third component of the Maverick formula? Fall forward. Well, charting out an action plan just brought in that sense of action, of solution, and immediately dissipated the worries. And then, linked to this deliberate or purposeful worrying is having a schedule to do so. Now, we don't have a specific time each day to worry, but research has shown that that's a great way to help our minds to not excessively worry and to continue doing other tasks during the day without worrying. What this essentially means is that you allocate a specific time in the day, ideally not before bedtime, but sometime towards the end of the day, and it could be for a few minutes, not too long. Maybe 10 or 20 minutes, and you can schedule that as your worry time. Throughout the day, as problems crop up, you just jot them down. You're making a list for your worry time. And then, during worry time, you review that list and go through it. For sure, some of the worries may have already got resolved during the day. It's funny how some things just work out even if you don't do anything. And then there are those that are still there. You can explore solutions and actions. Doing this has shown to help our mind to consciously tackle worry and not let it build up into anxiety and have an impact on the body and the mind. Let me share a story of a worry we had recently. The worry of our stuff being in different places and how to manage this, given that you can only travel with a certain amount of weight and excess baggage is super expensive, and many times the airlines are not even accepting this excess as there are weight controls on flights. This is becoming more common due to the backlog with cargo that's a result of the pandemic, and so there's limited space and weight on most flights. Well, it was a worry for our daughter who was moving from Scotland to London and then to Ireland and had her stuff in different places including Bangladesh and India and the US. And it was a worry for us as we had our stuff in Nigeria and Bangladesh and different parts of India. Now, how we get our stuff in so many different places is another story altogether. But it was a problem and a worry we all were facing. We first wrote it all down, outlining the issues well and that what stuff was where and what had to happen. Then we divided up the tasks amongst us. Who will do what? And what is it we need to find out and by when, and we got cracking. What followed were a lot of Google searches, lots of calls, emails, trying to understand what our options are and what we could do as a best way forward at no or very low cost. The result? Well, firstly, just the act of writing it all down and then discussing it and having an action plan of finding solutions, in essence, also sharing the worry, helped hugely in de-escalation of the issue. Often, worries tend to metamorphose into bigger catastrophes, and that then leads to anxiety. So we were able to stop that from happening. Even though there was a huge amount of anxiety just sitting beneath the surface, and we learned a lot about, moving stuff across cities and continents. Ultimately, we were able to use these cool baggage services that pick up your suitcases from the doorstep and deliver it to your destination. So our daughter's stuff went from Scotland to London to finally, most recently, to Ireland. And then our own stuff was also picked up by people that specialized in this kind of movement. So they are not, your kind of regular type of couriers, as they could be super expensive, but more, the kind of aggregators that they can offer competitive rates and combine the different bags, parcels, and transport them to different destinations. We had no ideas of such options that were available. We were very impressed with the economies of scale principle that's in play here. All our bags and stuff reached fine across multiple destinations, cross country and cross continents, taking a few weeks sometimes, but nevertheless, it all reached safely and at a cost that was economical and affordable. Just goes to show how much is out there in the world that one gets to know just if that extra efforts are put in. Our worry was resolved just like this, and at the end of the day, we were all happy. A win-win situation. There's a popular quote that goes, "Worrying is like paying the interest on debt you don't owe." Let me repeat. Worrying is like paying the interest on a debt you don't owe. So, fellow Mavericks, press the pause button on your worries. Instead, worry effectively. Practice deliberate or purposeful worry and schedule worry times in your calendar. I bet you will not look back. Do keep writing your comments and sharing your feedback via our Instagram at The Ordinary Maverick or through our hashtag The Ordinary Maverick. I love hearing from you. This is Ajay signing off and wishing you have an amazing day, a super amazing year. Keep well, stay safe. Credits. This podcast series was put together as a team effort from the Bhardwaj family. Concept, design, title, researchers and reviewers: Ajay, Sanjana, Avantika and Niharika Bhardwaj. Script, Sanjana. Cover design, Niharika. All rights reserved.